for coming. Our plan is tonight to start right away. I don't know if this is called right away or not, but we will talk for about 35, 40 minutes, and then we'll take questions and answers, and at precisely 10 o'clock, we're done. That means even if you're in the middle of a question, don't take it the wrong way. I'm cutting you off, and we are done. Okay? So, there's a funny thing I realized a little while ago. It's good, it's fine, I look horrible.
Okay.
That, when a person wants to go into business, they go to college for 4 years, then maybe they intern in a business, they work under somebody for a while, and then they start their business. Or if someone wants to become a doctor, they go to college for 8 years, and if someone wants to become a surgeon, they go to college maybe 12 years, and yet someone wants to become a parent. They do nothing. You just show up. And the kid's there with zero training. Like, at least to get married, you have a few, bridal classes. Zero happens when a person wants to have children. The most important commodity of everyone's life, no one denies it, and there's zero prep. Nothing. No one warning you, no one training you. So what people say to themselves is just, I know how to be a parent because, I've seen what my parents have done, and I basically just follow what they do. Do it, right? Yeah. Do you remember when you got your license? Anybody remember when you got your license? Here's what is always my memory of of learning how to drive. Is the first time I went behind the wheel, my mindset was, I've seen my mother and father and people do this for 17, 18 years. This is going to be like automatic. It's going to be a snap. And I remember the first turn that I made was so messed up. Like, he said turn, I turned into the bushes. It was like deal, so you can't get into any accidents. But it was, I said, I have no clue. I'm watching it for years, and I actually how to do it, I have no clue. So what happens is we have kids, and they start to grow up, and they're little, so if you make a mistake, nothing really happens. They just cry a little more. Nothing really changes that much. And then all of a sudden, wow, 1 second. They're 5, they're 8, they're 10, they're 12, they're 15, they're 18. I have challenges, and how do I handle this? What do I do? What's my preparation? So we're going to try to do, over the next few weeks as we do this, this is very distracting, I'm just telling you. I can't even, I almost want to I can't look at myself. I'm horrible. Can you bend it so I don't have to? Okay.
No, I don't want
to
to
not see myself. I never in my life ever did a class that I had to watch myself. Ever in my life. What? I don't know. We'll see. Trying. Wow. I'm so distracted. The guy, I can't stop looking at him.
At least you know somebody's listening.
Okay.
I'll be shut.
Okay. So what we're going to try to do is address some of those basic points that normal parents deal with. Not extreme situations, just normal, healthy things. That if we deal with them properly and deal with them and approach them the right way, life and raising children can become so much easier. So the first thing I want to describe is, what's your goal? What's your goal with your child? You have a child, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want it to be? What do you want it to do? What do you want to accomplish with your child? So I want to tell you a story that you've heard probably in 3rd grade. And the sad thing about hearing stories sometimes when you're in 3rd grade is the whole magnitude of the story is lost. So I want to tell over the same story so that you appreciate the magnitude of the story. The story is of a man named Hillel. Hillel was a young man, apparently, had no money, and he would chop wood. And his system was he would chop wood every day, and he'd make $1. 50 cents would go to provide some food for his family, and the other 50 cents would go to get him admitted into the yeshiva. Every day, that was his system. He chopped the wood, 50 cents, 50 cents. One day, apparently, business wasn't doing well. He chopped the wood, and he only earned 50 cents. So he came home, and he gave the money to his wife to provide for his family, and had nothing left. So he goes to the door of the yeshiva. You know the story, right? You know the story? And he knocks on the door, and apparently back then, yeshivas had like bouncers. And he knocked on the door, and he said, I'd like to get in. And the guy says, where's your money? He says, I have none. He says, I'm sorry, you can't come in. The man slammed the door in his face and said, go home. And Hillel stood outside, and he said, what am I going to do? I have to study. And so Hillel got on the ladder and climbed to the roof. And there was sunlight on the top. And he put his ear to the sunlight and started to listen and hear the Torah of the great Rabbi Shemaiah Naftalion. The Gemara says it was snowing that day. It was freezing, winter, cold day, and it was snowing, and it was snowing. It says it was snow 2-3 feet, which if you come from Boston right now is very believable. And it was snowing and snowing and snowing on him. The next day, the rabbis went to the yeshiva. It happened to be Shabbat. They look up and they say, 1 second. Usually the light comes in. There's no light coming in. They look up and they see the form of a human being up there. They send their students to go run up and get him. They get Hillel down. He was frozen, unconscious. They brought him in. That was on Shabbat. They said, light up a fire to save this man's life. And he recuperated. And he became healthy. And they let him in for free. And he became Hillel Hazaken. You know the story. You heard the story in 3rd grade. Here's what I don't think people appreciate about the story. Is I want you to zone in on that 1 minute. The 1 minute when the door is slammed in his face. Hillel Hazaken, Hillel is not a well-known man at this time. He's just a regular guy. He's a woodcutter, which is a very not prestigious job. He cuts wood, and he's not a very successful man. He actually did worse than this usually bad day today. He's standing outside the door. The only thing he knows how to do is study, and now the door is slammed in his face. It's freezing cold. It's snowing. It's in the middle of the winter. At home, his wife has no money. He has nothing in his pocket. He's got nothing. And that moment, to me, defines who he was. Because at that moment, he had the courage and the confidence and the strength to take that step up that ladder. And once you took that step, he went from Hillel the woodcutter to one of the greatest rabbis in the history of the Mishnah, Hillel Hazaken. I want my kid to have that. I want my child to have the strength to be standing in whatever circumstance they're going to find themselves in their life. With the door shut, and it's cold, and they have money or don't have money, and they have the confidence and the strength and the power to make the right decisions at that moment. That they can handle life on their own. That's what I need them to have. That's my goal. Some of you might have your son learn a lot. Some of you want to have him not be so religious. Some of you want your daughter to do this. Some of you want your son to make money, not make. Everyone's got a different goal. This goal, we all agree on. That I want my child to have the strength to weather that storm. To have the confidence, to have the knowledge, to have the foundation, to have the support system, to have the inner strength to do and perform in that moment. And there's basically one thing that gets them there. Basically one thing. And that's the focus of our class today. That is when a parent, mother, and father gives their child time. Nothing in the world replaces time for mommy and dad. Nothing. And mommy and dad. Make that clear. Mommy and dad. Not just that mothers give time and fathers make money. Mothers give time and fathers give time. Because there's nothing in the world that's more meaningful to a child than his parents' time. Because to this day, you can do things and feel successful, not so successful. The approval you want most is your mother and your father. Because your parents and their valuing you and their appreciation of you is absolutely priceless. Here's the problem. Most men have none. Do we agree with this? Raise your hand if you have all kinds of time and you spend all kinds of time with your kids' children. I'm really serious. Men? Anyone? I got one hand. I got 0. You spend a lot of time with your children? Do you feel zoned in and close to every single one of them, that they feel really, really that you spend all kinds of time with them? Men only, I'm asking the question to. Men. Okay, fantastic. Good. I have one bid. Do I have any others? I got two. Do I have any more? Two. I got two. What? He's good? Okay, I got a few. Here's what? Apparently it's a Casson thing. Okay? I got you. Okay, we'll give him credit. What I want to talk about tonight is how to give your children time, even if you have none. And even if there's a million things happening in your life. Because a lot of men that I know spent a month ago, maybe went away for a week, then went to vacation, went away with their children, and going away with their children doesn't necessarily mean spending time with their children for a lot of people. Then got back and had to go right focus on the business because they didn't work for a month, and 24/7 in the business, and then next week they're going away again for a business trip. And then somewhere in the middle, they try to say hi to their kids. I want you to be able to spend time with your children even if you have no time. Because what I'm going to try to do is give you how in 5 minutes you could spend all the time you need with your child. In 5 minutes, you could accomplish everything you need to accomplish. It doesn't take 2 hours. It doesn't take a full Sunday. It doesn't take all day Shabbat. It doesn't take all weekends. It doesn't take the whole summer. It's 5 minutes. If you do the 5 minutes right, you can accomplish everything you need to accomplish in those 5 minutes. Are you ready? You ready? I just want people to understand, and what kids sometimes don't understand, is when daddy has no time, that's usually because he's spending all his time on you. And every kid should be informed of that by someone, by this mother. Someone should realize. The reason why daddy is so busy is not because he's doing something for himself. He's not doing fantasy football. Daddy's so busy because he is zoned in and he so cares about you and is so concerned that you should have a house and you should go to yeshiva and that you should eat dinner, that you should have Shabbat meals, that you should have clothing, that you should have a nice wedding when it's time. And that's why he's so stressed out. It's not because he doesn't care about you. If daddy lived by himself, he could work 3 hours a day. The only reason why he works 24/7 is because of you. So that should be very, very, very clear to every little child and every woman and everyone should understand. The reason why people are stressed out is not because they don't care. It's because they care so much that they sometimes get distracted. How do you do it in 5 minutes? I'm going to give you 5 ideas. You can't just do it in 5 minutes like this. It takes 5 steps. 5 steps to 5 minutes with your child that you can do it tomorrow night and your child will feel like, wow, I had time with my father or I had time with my mother. Are you ready? Number 1. I was once walking home with a neighbor of mine. This neighbor is like a very, like a rabbi, is Ashkenaz man, very like rabbinical and all that, the beard and the whole 9 yards. And he doesn't have a nickel to his name. And he's got like 7 jobs at night, in the morning, and he's also saving the world. He deals with marriages and stuff, and he has people coming to his house every Shabbat meal, like he has 10 guests of like homeless type people. I'm not exaggerating. The man is the most righteous thing I've ever seen in my life. He's also always super happy, and so are his kids, always super happy. So I said, what do you do? One day I'm walking home with him Friday, and he sees me, he says, oh, Joey, thank Hashem today. I said, okay, thank Hashem today. What do you do? He says, here's what I do. Before I get home, I prepare. That means I'm in the car and I think. He's got like, Yitzi and Chaim and Maishi and Spritzy, whatever his names are. He says, I think Yitzi needs this from me today. Should I switch the names a little bit? Ike needs that from me today. And Joey needs that. I know, you just realized Sarah took a test today. And Morris, I just remembered, had an issue with his friend. You need to prepare. That means a lot of times what happens is you just show up basically on the phone throughout the whole thing. You're on the Bluetooth, you get out of the car, you're still on the Bluetooth, you walk into the house on the phone, and that's not the crime in itself. The crime in itself is now when you shut the phone, you're still not there. Because you just like shocking showed up. You're not zoned in. Turn off the phone 5 minutes before you get there and prepare. That means think about it. Just like if you show up at a meeting in work, in business, and you're not prepared at all, the meeting is usually ineffective. But if you're ready to go and you know what you want to say, you know what you need, you know what you want to accomplish, you are so much better. So just be prepared. Because now if you start off that 5 minutes with Ike, you said, oh, Ike, you know what? How was your basketball game today? I know you played a game. How'd it go? Now all of a sudden he says, 1 second. My father's actually thinking about me? One of my daughters has this little sister. She writes me, she wants to ask me like halakha questions. Okay, she's a little girl, she's young. She wants me to ask me halakha questions. So she writes the questions on a paper, leaves it on my desk, and then I write the answers. And I said to myself one time, I'm like in the house when she does this. She could just like come into my room and say, Dad, let me ask you some questions. Why does she like it that way? I'll tell you why. Because if she comes and answers she asks me questions and I answer, she thinks I'm just reacting to her. Like she's annoyed. I'm annoyed. I want to get her out of the room, so I react. But if I took a piece of paper and at night when I'm by myself, actually wrote down answers, that means like I'm thinking about her when she's not bothering me. Like I'm really just thinking about her and like she's like, wow, that tells her so much more. And I go upstairs and take that piece of paper and stick it under her pillow and she reads the answers in the morning and she feels like gold. Because like I'm on her mind. She's on my mind. So you have to come in and be prepared. That's number one. Number two is this. Hillel, this same Hillel, had a statement that to me, if you read it by itself, it sounds very almost egotistical. Here's what Hillel said. Kisha'ani kan, hakol kan. When I'm here, everybody's here. Whoa. Okay? That's like a lot to say. I'm here, the whole world is here. Well, what is Hillel? Now, there's a lot of explanations to it, but I think what Hillel is saying is that, you know what, I don't need the world, I need me. And if I'm good, and I'm here, and I'm happy, I'm good. When your child is in front of you, step number two is, they have to feel, Kisha'ani kan, hakol kan. When I'm here, everything's here. The next thing you need to do in those 5 minutes is 0 distractions. No cell phones on, no answering emails, no talking to somebody else in the background, no television on, nothing. That's hard to do. I'm only asking for 5 minutes. I'm not asking you to do this the whole night and have a whole 2 hours with your children on the couch with no cell phone. I'm not asking. 5 minutes, you come in prepared, and everything is off. A lot of people have televisions on in the background just for background music, and they don't even like to see it. Kids there, 0 distractions. I want to tell you some opportunity that I had when I was a kid. My father was a rabbi in a shul, Lawrence Area Shul. You familiar with Lawrence Area Shul? But we lived next door to the West Deal Shul. Anyone familiar with West Deal Shul and Lawrence Area Shul? That means that on Shabbat, we don't drive. We walked 2 miles each way. So that means on Friday night, we would drive there and walk 2 miles home. The morning back and forth, and then in the afternoon back again. It was a total of 8 miles walking every Shabbat. 8 miles walking every Shabbat. The whole deal felt bad for us. The whole deal. People say, oh, your father, he walks. How do you do it in the snow? How do you do it in the cold? It's frigid cold. I walked around the corner. How do you walk 2 miles? That's crazy. That's crazy. Your kids walk. Your sons walk. Oh, my goodness, that's crazy. The greatest blessing that ever happened to my family was those 2 miles. Because when you walk 2 miles with your father, and it'll be sometimes me and my brothers, 2 miles with your father, in deal, there's no distractions. None. Okay? And you just walk down in the middle of February on Norwood Avenue with nobody there. And you walk down Sherman Avenue with no one in the house. It's just you and your father. And we used to talk. And we used to discuss everything in the world that was happening, from politics to the community, to family, everything. It was priceless. I cannot tell you, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to my family. And you could ask all my brothers. They will all agree. We used to come home exhausted and wiped. It would take us a half hour to get to the table because we were so exhausted. Taking off the boots and the snow and the freezing. And the summer was so hot, it was crazy. But it was awesome because it was absolutely focused and zero distractions. You don't know what it tells a child that I have nothing else but you. You don't have to tell it to him for 2 hours. You have to tell it to him for 5 minutes. I'm prepared, and you're the only thing in the world. I've told this before. One night, I realized that one of my daughters, you know how many kids I have? Well, that's not really important for this story. But okay, mashallah, it's okay. That this room is small for my family. No, I'm joking. But no, thank God I know all their names, but I do not know all their birthdays. Am I a bad person? I do not know all their birthdays. I know my birthday and my wife's birthday, and I'm evil. Should I just give off the class and leave?
Maybe you
What?
Prepare.
I should prepare. Oh, good idea. I'll tell you the truth. And we have a game. They all know I don't know the birthdays because I don't remember any numbers. That's my thing. Like I don't know any phone numbers in the world. I don't know my parents' number. I don't know any numbers. So we'll sit around the Friday night table every 2 months, and Daddy will start guessing. And I know the months, I just don't know the dates. I will start guessing, and I'll tell one kid, oh yeah, I remember it's yours because the World Series was that night you were born, and things like that. Another one, he was born on Hanukkah, so I remember it's yours because of that. But I don't remember their birthdays. But anyhow, that's not really the point. So one night, I realized one of my older daughters, I felt like she needs some of my attention. So I had a wedding, and I had to make a berachah at the wedding. I said, you know what? Berachah at the wedding is very nice. My daughter's more important. So I went under the chuppah, Sharet Zion, and I made the berachah. And the second after I was done the berachah, I started walking off like I had some crazy meeting to do. And I said, no, I'm sorry, I got to go, I have a meeting. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in Cafe Venezia with my teenage daughter. And you know what? That is priceless. Because I said, yeah, Sharon, I just left the wedding because I need to spend time with you. And now I don't have time to spend all kinds of time with her every day, or even maybe sometimes not even all week. But you know what? She got zoned in, focused time. And there's nothing like it. Number 3 is you have to be genuinely interested. This is a hard thing to do. You ever how many wives tell their husband their day every day? You tell your husband your day? Never? He does it? You do? Okay. You tell your husband your day? Is he interested or not interested? He's not here, so you don't want to throw him under the bus and I got you. Okay, apparently he should give the class next week. That's what I got out of this. Well, I want to tell you this. There are a lot of people who give off the body language of really not caring that much. And I'll give you an example of what I think is one of the greatest father examples, parenting examples in the Torah, and everyone misjudges this one. Yitzchak Avinu loved his son Esav because he was a hunter. And everyone asked that question. Yitzchak Avinu, who almost sacrificed his life, one of the holiest men to ever live, actually liked his son because he was a hunter. And then when he wanted to bless him, he said, go and get me meat. Really? Really? The answer is yes, really. Because Yitzchak Avinu knew his son and knew that that's what his son cared about. His son was into hunting. So he loved what his son loved. And he showed his son that I care and I am interested in what you do. It's a little hard to do. You have to show genuine interest. You can't just show up and say, oh, what's going on? Oh, yeah, oh, wow, Ike did this, your sister did this, that one said this, oh, wow, great, okay, but what's this funny Ike did? Can't do that. And then, Nancy, go to your cell phone. You come prepared, you're zoned in, and you're genuinely interested. You know, I once spoke to a father who got very religious and moved to Lakewood. And he said, he moved to Lakewood, and his sons slowly got less religious. So I talked to him about it. He says, the challenges of being a father is unbelievable. He says, I started to realize my sons are doing this and doing that, and I'm coming like he's this whole holy guy. He says, and my sons wanted to go to Yankee games. And I thought I left all that behind. He says, I asked my rabbi, he says, now I'm asking you, do you think I'm supposed to take my son to a Yankee game? I said, oh yeah, you're supposed to take your son to a Yankee game. He says, I got all religious to take my son to a Yankee game? I said, yes. 100% yes. First of all, I don't know what's wrong with Yankee, but even if you think there's something wrong, fine. You could be some holy person and don't go to Yankee game. Fine. But if that's what he's interested in, that's what you're interested in. So that means when you talk to your child and your son and your daughter, she likes this, she likes that, he likes this, he likes that, you be interested and ask questions about it and talk about it and discuss it. There are fathers very often who don't go to PTA. PTA usually has a higher percentage of mothers than fathers. And I get it. Sometimes father's away. Sometimes he's on a business trip. Sometimes he's not getting home till 9:30. Sometimes a crazy week in the office. I understand. But here's my question. Does a father, when the mother comes home, does the father just say, oh, how is PTA? Oh, she says it's doing pretty well. Or does the father say, I want to hear exactly what happened and give me notes and details, because if Sarah needs this conversation and Ike needs that conversation, I'm ready to address each one. You have to be genuinely interested. Someone once asked Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, you heard of him, he was one of the Gedolim. Should a rabbi play ball with his students? Do you think a rabbi should play ball with his students? What do you think the answer is? Do you think yes or no? Yes? Should a rabbi play ball with his students? Yes or no? Listen to his answer. I think it's genius. He said only if he's good. And I think that's offensive. You know why he's saying? He said because if you're good, then you show the boys that you're in on it, you understand them, you're with them, you're part of them. If you're throwing up bricks and air balls, that's not connecting to them. You have to show, again, genuine interest in their thing. And that means if you have a kid who's very interested in learning, and you don't love learning so much, learn with him. And it could be he's very into the iPhone or technology that you're not into. Say, wow, you got this new app? Show it to me. And let me try that. Oh, there's a game? Wow, I didn't know that game. But how's that game work? And he says, oh, you shoot people and then other people and you play with people in China and then this board and that board. Wow, can I play that game? Will I play it one time? Tomorrow night, you and I will play this game for 10 minutes. I want to see who's better, you or me. He says, wow, my father cares about whatever, war, whatever. Genuine interest. Number 4. And this is going to sound similar to number 3, but it's very different. You have to be interested and you have to emotionally care. Let me show you what I mean. I think there's a powerful observation in this week's parasha. In this week's parasha, Mishpatim, there's all kinds of laws, and at the end of the parasha, it says that the Jewish people saw a vision, or the elders saw a vision of God with a stone under his throne. And then they saw the Shamayim was clear. So Rashi says, what was the stone under his throne? The stone under God's throne is that while the Jewish people were in Egypt and in suffering and in pain, he had this stone to remember and feel their pain. And then the sky was clear to sort of symbolize that then now happiness happened for the Jewish people. And now God is appreciating that happiness. And the commentary says, so why did they have to see this vision right before Matan Torah? The answer is the only reason why the Jews would accept the Torah is once they saw that vision. Because when they saw that vision, they saw that God really cares about them. He cares about them because he has that stone under his throne and he has the sky is clear for happiness. God really cares. And if he really cares, I'll listen to his 613 laws. So I read this little comment and I said, really? You need this to prove to you that Borei Olam cares? 10 plagues didn't do it? A splitting of a sea, that doesn't do it? You're telling me sea splitting, the greatest miracles of all time. Egypt is in havoc. You did all kinds of things. That doesn't show that God cares. But a little stone under his throne does? The answer is a very important observation and totally, perfectly connected to every father and mother. That all the things you do don't show that you care. A child doesn't understand that the fact that you gave him a house, and you gave him clothing, and you gave him food, and you gave him school, he doesn't get that that means you care. Maybe when he's 30 years old, he'll get that it meant that you care. But while it's happening, it doesn't mean anything to him. But if he loses a basketball game by 2 points, and you sit there and you stew with him, then you care. The stone showed more to the Jewish nation than all the plagues and splitting of seas. Because the stone showed that it hurts me. A father, you have to be emotionally in. Not just, I get interested in our play. Oh, you lost. I don't believe it. Oh, you won. Yes. Oh, that's awesome. You did. Let's do a dance because you won. My father's so excited, like it matters to me. The key is not just to be interested. The key is emotion. And emotion means that they're feeling and sensing inside of them that you are emotionally attached to what they're attached to. And it could be utter nonsense. It could be they have 30 friends and one friend didn't call them tonight. It's not nonsense. It's a big deal when you're 13. And it's even a big deal when you're 19. And it's definitely a big deal when you're 7. You act like you care. That the stone is under your throne too. And the fifth one is the easiest concept of them all. And that is through the whole 5 minutes, the whole time, you have to be positive. That means you can give instructions all you want, but not during those 5 minutes. During the time that you're really spending with your kid, I once gave this advice in a class, and people appreciate it very much. And so I want to give you a little advice. If your kids, you have older kids, there's back and forth all the time, make the Friday night meal 0 rebuking time. 0 criticism on the Friday night meal. No, I heard you failed today. I just got an email. No. Keep it for Saturday night. Friday night meal, just positive. But during these 5 minutes, just positive. Just positive. Hillel, this great rabbi we told you about, the Mishnah Pirkei Avot says he had, the Mishnah, the Gemara Masechet Sukkah says he had 80 students, and one was great, and this one was greater than the next, and the next, and the next. His lowest student of the 80 was a rabbi named Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Now you go to Pirkei Avot, and Pirkei Avot says that Hillel was sort of the leader of his time, and the number one link in the chain, the next person to take from Hillel, was his chief student, was Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. I once heard a religious psychologist ask, of all the students, the lowest one was the number one student? And he says, here's why. Because read the next Mishnah. It says Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai used to count, used to praise and understand the beautiful characteristics of his students. Hayam moneh shevacham. He would see their praises. That makes him a leader. That makes him, he may not know as much, he may not be as smart, he may not have as great a background, but you know what? He understands and sees their praises. Your children have to see and feel that during those 5 minutes. I have a little sister with another one of my daughters. I got to tell you this one. I've said this before. She's 12 now. Every now and then, she loves to dance. She just loves to dance. She goes to dance clubs on Sundays, and she loves to dance. Every now and then, we dance. That means, I might do it tomorrow night. We'll come home, and she'll turn on a song. Don't worry, like Yaakov Shwagi. Okay? And she'll turn on a song, and for 5 minutes in the living room, we'll dance. And I have no problem admitting it. I like to dance, she likes to dance, and we'll dance, and she'll come up with all these motions, and I have to follow her motions, and the whole 9 yards. You know what she feels in those 5 minutes? She feels that something that I'm into, something that I'm good at. My father's seeing that I'm good at it. And everything that I want to accomplish in the 5 minutes, I got in one dance. Because she knows I care. I'll tell her, get the song. No, get a different song. Which song are we doing tonight? And that was not as good. I'm prepared. I'm totally focused. Totally focused. I'm genuine. I'm interested because I'm dancing with her. I'm emotionally into it because the dance is emotional. You get excited, and maybe every now and then I'll hold her, pick her up, and you get all into it, and it's positive because she feels great. You give your child that, you give them everything. 5 steps. 5 steps, very simple steps. They're not that hard to do. I don't care how busy you are. I don't care how stressed out you are. I don't care what's going on in your life. If you have children, you have time to give them 5 powerful minutes. And if you give them those 5 powerful minutes, there are other parents who can spend all day with them that can't accomplish the same thing that you can in 5 minutes. It's really not that hard. And I'll give you one little extra credit point, bonus points. You want a little bonus points with the kid? The next day, follow up. Like after you spent those 5 minutes, the next day you say, Rivka, wasn't that dance awesome last night? Or even if you don't have time to even have 5 minutes tonight, but you follow up, it means you are in tune and zoned in. I'm going to tell you a little story, and then we have questions for 15 minutes. Okay, so you better be prepared. Do you have good questions? Do you have a question ready to go? Oh, we clarified everything. There's nothing you need to ask. Okay. Years ago, little boy, actually it's told by the man, his father. So the father says, there's just time in my life when my son was 5 or 6 years old that was unbelievably busy. I was just unbelievably busy. I was on business trips every other day. It was just weeks and just crazy. He says, and I really cherish spending time with my son because I know how much it meant to me, and my father didn't have so much means, and my father wasn't a big talker, but he used to spend time with me. And I remember those memories so strongly, and I wanted to give it to my son. Now one summer came, and the entire summer practically, I had to be in Europe away on business. And I can't tell you, he says, how much it was killing me. I just can't tell you. And my wife would send me these little care packages of pictures of my son and what he's doing and where he is. And it just was killing me even more. About one time, I got a chocolate in the mail, and it had a bite in it. And my son wrote a little note, and he said, Dad, I want to share my treat with you. He says, I just didn't know what to do. He says, one night, I sent my son a letter, and I said to him, son, when I get back, I'm going to teach you how to fly a kite. Okay? My son got all excited. He says, a few days later, I was in a store somewhere in Europe, and I saw a stick. So I said, you know what, that's perfect for a kite. I took the stick, put it in an envelope, and sent it to him. A few days later, I took another stick, put it in an envelope, and sent it to him. A few days later, I don't know, somehow he ended up in the Orient. And he says, and I saw this piece of fabric that had like blue silk and like gold woven into it. I said, this fabric is perfect for a kite. I folded it up, put it into an envelope, and I sent it to him. And then I went to another place and I saw a string that was perfect for the tail, and I sent it to him. Finally, towards the end of the summer, I sent him a letter. I said, I'm coming home soon. I came home, and he was already sleeping in bed. I walked into his room, and all around his bed, I saw the stick and the silk and the string and everything all around his bed. The next morning, I went running into his room. I said, we're going to start building this kite. Every night after dinner, we went into the garage, and we started building the kite. Finally, after a week, it was all done. I told my son, okay, now we're going to go fly it tomorrow. My son was so excited he couldn't breathe. I'm telling you, he says, my son had the kite on his bed. I said, you're going to turn over and crack it. He said, Dad, it's impossible for me to crack it. This kite is so important. He says, I can't sleep if it's not right near me. I put it on this chair. He was holding the kite all night. Deep down in my mind, I said, the weather is not really the right weather for kite, to go fly a kite anymore. But I promised him, my son says, don't worry, Dad, I'm going to pray. It's going to happen. The next morning, he woke up before me. He comes running into his room with his kite. We go to the beach, and it's horrible weather for his kite flying. I don't know what happened. He says, next thing I know, that kite took off, and we are running up and down across the beach all day flying this kite. He says it was such an unbelievable moment. He says, now my son is married. He has children of his own. And every now and then, we go for coffee. Because I want to tell you something, by the way. Time with your parents doesn't ever graduate. Time with your parents is awesome when you're 40 years old and your parents are 60. Anyhow, so I went with my son, and we went for coffee together. And he's showing me pictures of his kids. And he pulls out his wallet, and he pulls out his pictures. Then people had actual pictures in those days. He says, I pulled out the pictures, and he handed me the pictures. As he pulled it out, something fell out of his wallet. I bent down to pick it up, and I handed it to him. It was a piece of blue silk fabric with gold woven through. My son kept a piece of that kite in his pocket for decades. There's nothing in the world you can give your child more than that feeling that you value them. And the only way you value them is not with iPads. The way you value them is with time. Because if they had your time when they are young, when they're standing in front of that door, whenever it's closed, and I don't care how much money they have in their pocket, and I don't care how cold it feels like it is outside, and I don't care how stormy it is, they'll have the confidence to take that step. Because maybe this quote says it best. There are two things we give our children that they have for the rest of their life: roots and wings. Go give your children that. And it doesn't take 10 hours, 5 powerful minutes, done with 5 powerful steps. And your child's life will be different. And it's mommy and daddy. Now we'll take your questions. Very good. Someone's got to ask a question. Stop me off. Go.
From your experience, how often per child, for 5 minutes, and do you ever come up with a problem where one child or another child interrupts? Just, oh, that has
Okay, 100%. Yes, I didn't tell you how many kids I have, but you got the idea. Children interrupting is a very common, So, first of all, I'm not going to give you a number. I'm going to tell you just keep doing it over and over and over again. If you can do it every night, awesome. If you can't do it every night, it's impossible. There's some nights, let's be fully honest with you, okay? Tonight, I'm not doing it because I was home for 20 minutes and ate dinner. I did homework with my son, but that doesn't count. That doesn't count because that's not positive 5 minutes. I'm telling him all the words he doesn't know. That doesn't make him feel good. So that doesn't count. But tonight I can't do it. But tomorrow night and Thursday nights I specifically have no classes because then I really try to do it. And interruptions, I'll tell you the truth. I think a healthy family has both. You have a Friday night dinner table that no one's getting. In my dinner table, no one's getting a word in edgewise. Everyone thinks that the other person's talking too much. If you can just imagine, my kids talk. Okay, just take a little, okay? So there are times that are like that, but if you're not getting that time, make it. My wife used to force me to take my oldest son for pizza sometimes on Sundays. And my wife would say, honey, just go in for 20 minutes. And I'll be like, I have no time. The greatest thing I ever did. I don't care how much Torah I wasted. It was the greatest thing I ever did because my son feels genuinely connected. Did I answer you fair enough?
Yeah, except for the interruption. No.
So here's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you is that there are times that you can allow interruptions, but those 5 minutes should not really be interrupted. Now, I mean, one interruption, the kid says something, it's not. But my point is, you're into his thing. So if he feels you're into his thing, and then your wife says, honey, by the way, don't forget to turn out the lights when you go upstairs, that's not an interruption. But if you have 6 kids jumping on the couch with you, that doesn't count. Good. Go. Next. Go.
So, how important is, I guess coming from the twin parents, right? How important is individuality? Because like in our case, we have kids that really have the same interests. They themselves are very close, and you can really kill 2 birds with 1 stone if you want.
I think I need to get the class over again. Perfect. The answer is, I think all the more so because I think that the number one blessing that twins have is the fact that they have each other. And the number one challenge that twins have is the fact that they have each other. And the fact that they sort of have this sort of one identity. That, I know your daughters pretty well. It took me like 3 years till I knew which was which. Even though... I know. What I'm saying, I know. Oh, I know one set. Yeah, the other one will know soon. But I'm saying, and it took me years, and even though they're not identical, it took me years just to sort of put them apart. I said most people don't separate them. So yes, they definitely, in a twin's house, and like I said, I don't have twins, definitely need to have some alone, and that's what makes a unique parent. The standard parent does them together. The unique parent makes them feel like individuals, and then they feel strong by themselves because they don't need to have a totally locked-in identity. They need to have their own. That's like good. That's beautiful. It doesn't have to knock close. Exactly, 100%. Go.
Well, this sounds like it's geared me towards I would say 16 and under.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No.
But I say what I'm thinking.
Okay, fine. But I'm telling you I disagree.
Get to the older kids, the 19 to 20 to 21. It's not that you don't have time for them.
They don't have time for you. Okay, now I'll answer that.
When the house turns into a hotel, walk in, eat, walk out, be back later, you sleep before they sleep, you leave before they get up. There's no time.
So, okay.
And when you start asking the questions, when you have 2 minutes, why is it an interview? Why is it an interrogation? I just asked how.
My daughter has a standard answer to all our questions. Where are you going? Who are you going with? My daughter, I have a daughter that's 18, okay? Where are you going? Who are you going with? What are you doing? What are you doing? Here's a standard answer. I'm going with my friend.
Which friend?
Which friend? My friend. Is there some secret? Is there something? No, I'm going with my friend. So, here's my answer to you. 100% false. Now, I agree it's much harder. The difference is that you have to totally, when I said step 3 was be genuinely interested, you have to totally flip how you do it. You can't just say, oh, how you doing, and let me play a video game with you. Now it's like, can I take you out to eat till I'm alright? I'm serious. Whatever, I don't know if the meat's kosher or not, but yes. You have that, and I'm serious. It has to be totally cool. So it's a Broadway play. It's, you know what I mean? It's, you know, what do you call those seats? Legend seats at Yankee Stadium. It's not just the simple stuff. So what sort of happens, that the challenge usually have, is we want to still go with the same old things because it worked with us for 10 years. And like, oh, let's eat dinner together, or let's talk without your cell phone, or wake, and they're not interested in that. It's totally new. You know, let's research something on the internet. I don't know, something. Let's shop. I don't know what works, but whatever works, it's got to be something that's zoned into their mindset. The number one challenge that parents have with that age kid is the fact that we have to flip. I know I'm going through it myself. She's 18. She's 18. She's 19. She's 20. She's totally different than 14. And totally like 100 years apart. And so you have to adjust to 100 years apart. So it's got to be a whole different level of coolness. That's the point. That's. It might be. 1 second. Whatever it takes. If it takes Europe, it's Europe. I'm not joking. If it takes Europe and you can afford Europe and you have the time to do Europe, it's Europe. It really is. Whatever it takes. Next. Go. Okay, go. Who's first? Go. Okay, go. Cover it.
Sometimes you don't have time and it's not face to face. Is FaceTime and doing it through the phone acceptable?
It depends. That's a fair question. It depends on how they receive it. So some people like FaceTime. In fact, I'll give you another personal story. See, I have a kid for every example here, okay? So I'm going to give you my next daughter. My next daughter, we have the whole thing. The school they go to, they don't like cell phones, they don't like text messaging. We had a whole battle with her about having a cell phone with text messaging and not text messaging. Yes, no. Finally, we caved. We gave her a cell phone with text messaging, which was not, I don't really think text messaging is bad, but for her and her surroundings, it's hard to explain. I wasn't so into it. This daughter apparently didn't get this gene from me. She doesn't like to talk that much. Okay? So, but I started to find something unbelievable. My wife said to me like 2 months ago, she says, honey, did you realize? I said, well, yeah, I did. You're saying the same thing I'm realizing? She says, yeah. She says, she talks through text. Like she never, ever, ever says I love you to her parents. Like even halfway. Like even like Shabbat kiss, she runs away. Runs away. Like regular, just even on the head, forget anything heavy. And she's gone. But I love you through the text message, she takes. Dad, you're the best through text message. She'll never say that in person, but she takes. So my new job is actually to do more texting to her and less talking. Because talking somehow, I don't know what it is, it's probably some psychological thing that I have to figure out. But in the meantime, talking, she doesn't love. Okay? Maybe it's because her older sister is a non-stop talker, so that somehow like scarred her. It's possible. But talking, she doesn't love. Texting, she likes. So if this kid like really likes FaceTime or likes a phone conversation and feels uplifted by it, then yes. But if like they don't like the phone so much and they feel like they don't get genuine attention, and if you're on the phone and you keep talking to other people because you're on a business trip and yeah, you can take that, you can buy that, no, it costs that amount, and you're doing that on the phone, then no. Fair answer? Good. Eli?
Does the rabbi feel that a spontaneous 5 minutes is better than a set 5 minutes? You set a certain 5 minutes for each child, your Monday night, 7:30, your Tuesday night, 8 o'clock.
Now, if they have 5-minute meetings, they're going to think they're in the doctor's office. But I know, but I do think,
Because they would look forward to it.
I think it's very fair. I really would like to say both. Do both. That means if they know they have Monday night, and you can't set a time and then give them only 5 minutes, because then that feels crazy. You have Monday night 8:30 to 8:35. That's a little rough. It's 8:35 out of here. That's a little tough.
Yeah, right.
But exactly right. But if you are, you have Monday night, every Monday night, we could talk at 8 o'clock, and you give them 20 minutes. I think that's fantastic. And not everyone has that kind of time. I think that's fantastic. And then you also do spontaneous 5 minutes here and there. But again, spontaneous 5 minutes where you come in like ahead of them, like prepared for them, and they're like, wow, you're really thinking about me. But I think that's the answer. Anyone else? Okay, almost Eli, one more, and then you go. What, Eli? No, Eli, go.
I was saying, the whole fest was about the fathers, what happened to the mothers?
Oh. So you want me next week? You want me next week to shamble the mothers?
I'm just asking.
1 second, I want to be very clear. I stress the fathers because I feel like the fathers are weaker at it. This was absolutely, totally meant for mommies too. Because mothers can just as much be distracted and spend all day with their kids and not really give them actual time. This is for people who think they spend all the time in the world with their children and people who think they spend none. Because both of them don't realize this lesson. Because somehow in the past 10 years, your world totally changed. And all the dingling and all the distractions that came in our world made it, you could be with someone, you could go out to eat with someone for 2 hours and never really talk to them. You ever watch? They're waiting for the food. How do couples wait for food? Like this. That's how they wait for food. Look, you might go out to eat, you're going out to eat Thursday night. Look around. At some point, when you're waiting for food, you say, honey, let's look at this. And you look around and watch it. Am I right? Am I exaggerating? Am I saying it? It's true. So it's for every single person. It's for mothers and fathers 1,000%. Do not get me wrong at all. Okay, go. One more question.
What if I'm spending the time with my kids and trying very hard to be genuine with them, but I don't understand what they like and what they're into, and I just don't get it?
Because it's 2015, and you were raised, and I don't want to date you, but let's say you were raised.
I want to see what you did.
What?
I want to see what date you put on the.
You want?
2009.
You were raised in like 2009 time. That something like that. So it's a little. You just don't know what Snapchat is, but everything else you got. So I think that's a fantastic question. I also think that it's exactly 10 o'clock. So I think that we're going to have to answer that question and understand really how to get into that next time, which is not next week, it's the following week, which is, what's the date? February
25th.
February 25th, Bezat Hashem, on Wednesday night. We're going to get into the next step of what we have to do. And I spoke about spending time with your children. Maybe we'll do, God willing, we'll do that. How to understand your children next week. Next 2 weeks. What? Oh, I want to thank, by the way, Eli Caston and our whole woman committee. That's, I don't know, I can't remember, I'm going to forget one of the names. But our woman committee that put this whole thing together.